Yeah. Uh.
Instrument that I mentioned last time we spoke,
Mm-hmm.
that marital assessment test and evaluation,
Mm-hmm.
we've taken that on a periodic basis.
Okay. So,
And what it affords us an opportunity to do is cover a lot of, go ahead.
no, I was going to say that's a great intro into that. I was going to say, can you speak to the rate tool, I think it's called. Can you speak to that tool that you created and talk to us a little bit about how it works and share a little bit about it for the audience?
Yeah. So one of the things, this it's called the MATE, and it's a marital assessment test and evaluation. But what it does is it allows my wife and I to cover a lot of ground about subjects that might be kind of dicey to talk about without an infusion of emotion. Because
Mm-hmm.
once the emotion comes on the scene, it's hard to make any kind of progress. And we start by there. The marital construct is divided into 9 dimensions, and I mentioned those last week. There are positive feedback, which is what Dee just referenced. The complimenting somebody on occasion, listening. In our instance, parental involvement, romance, sex. They're nine areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I found interesting is that my wife and I rack and stack those 9 dimensions in order of priority. That's
Mm-hmm.
very important. What do you think the likelihood is that our racking and stacking would be the same?
Very slim to none.
Very, very slim to none, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I found out when my wife prioritized those dimensions, her number one priority was listening. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that prior to that. It
Right.
wasn't romance, it wasn't sex, it wasn't all this. A man would like to think, how
Mm-hmm.
we think, right?
Yeah.
We're very pedestrian in our thinking. And
Okay.
so she, she wants me to listen. And in a way that doesn't always fix the problem, just listen and be attentive.
Right. Okay. And
And
so,
so the reason that's important is because you can either have dispersion where you are very misaligned with regard to your priorities, or you
okay.
can be cohesive. You can be
Right.
aligned. And so that's what we glean from that exercise. And then once you know that, that fact, I use my wife and I go out periodically, and in those 9 dimensions, I have more granular questions.
Mm-hmm.
Can you all hear me?
We can hear you now. You cut out a little bit.
Oh, okay. I have more granular questions and basically come up with what's called an MMI. It's a marital maturity index. And basically, it's a number because for me, quantitative analysis is important. If you,
Mm-hmm.
you don't quantify things, you really don't know where you are on the spectrum. And so
Okay.
we quantify, you know, the job she thinks I'm doing as a husband and the job I think she's doing as a wife. Because whether I like it or not, that's her reality.
Right.
So I can either discount it or I can accept it if I want the relationship to move forward and for us to thrive.
Yes.
So I might think she's crazy as heck, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's her reality, right? And so I can't just discount her reality. And
Right.
this instrument affords us an opportunity to go over those areas, and
Okay.
and to be fair though, there's one rule of engagement that you must adhere to. In areas where she says I am not meeting her expectation, she's got to help me come up with a path forward. So the next time we go out and do this, I can meet or exceed their expectations. And
Okay.
that way you're fighting fair, you know.
Okay.
You can't
So,
just give
Greg,
me. Go ahead.
now I just want to, because I love the concept of that tool and working with your spouse on that tool. But I also worry, and I guess my listeners are probably going to be asking the same thing, like, because especially for a guy, for a woman, we probably can get emotional and something, may bother us that you say we're not doing. But for a man, when you rate him on a scale of 1 to 9 on his sex performance, his sexual performance, and then you tell your husband, you're a 4,
Right.
you know, that doesn't sit well with most men. So he's not going to be saying, oh, well, help me come up with a plan to try harder. It's going to be like, well, Betty's not having a problem with it.
How can I get to a 9?
Right. So the going in assumption is that you've got a cooperative spirit. If you've got a cooperative spirit and you want to put in the work to get better, if my wife thinks I'm a 4, that's her reality. I might think I'm a 9.
Okay.
But if she thinks I'm a 4, what am I?
Okay.
I'm a 4. So if I have a cooperative spirit and I'm willing to invest time and energy for us to improve and thrive in our marital union, I've got to accept her worldview.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And I mean, so if you're not willing to cooperate and you just want to say, well, I am what I am, and I don't care what she thinks, this is not the instrument for you.
Right.
But there's a segment of the population that say, you know what? I am willing to invest in my union.
Okay.
And even though I think she's crazy, she thinks I'm crazy, you know. So I don't know. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it is for people who are tired of saying, if somebody asks the question, how's your marriage? And they're like, it's okay. So now I know what I need to work on to improve my wife's perception of my job as a spouse, as a lover, as a husband, or I cannot care, you know. So anyway, that's the gist.
It's like being at work. Everybody else is evaluating you. Why not get an evaluation from your spouse in your own home? That's the biggest, that's the most important evaluation of all.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I love the concept, and I love that you guys do that. And I think if more marriages did that, then people would have more sustaining power. So I absolutely love that. So thank you for sharing that. So in closing, I'm sorry, Dee, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say 2 quick things on that. I think that's so powerful because, one, you talk about honesty and candor. Mm-hmm. You can only have honesty and candor in that, right, Greg?
Yes.
Cool. And then secondly, and you said both of these things, but it's also giving you, you have to be mature in order to be receptive to someone giving you the feedback that you deserve. Because if you don't get honesty and candor from your own home in a constructive way, right? This is not criticism for the sake of criticism or criticism because you don't do it the way that I do it. This is honesty for the sake of, to your point or your word, the investment of your marriage.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Yes, I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that.
So on that note, I owe you guys a white paper on that. I'd like you to redline it because maybe you'll find areas that I missed. And in the very near term, I'll forward it to you. I've been sort of swamped with other things, but
with pleasure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So in closing, guys, I just want you to have a quick word of advice to any couples out there, talking to both parties now, male or female. You know, when you leave your home, there's temptation all around, and ultimately you have to make a decision who to choose first, your family or, some other thing that pulls you from your family. I don't mean necessarily a male or female, but all the other things that, we prioritize before our spouses and our children. So what advice do you have for listeners about how to prioritize and how to always make sure you keep your family first?
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to go to scripture.
Okay.
So Joshua 24:15 says, choose this day whom you will serve, but for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. So we're always committed to that.
Okay.
And temptations, you're right, Gail. I mean, you don't even have to go outside your door to be tempted, right?
Right. Go to the computer. Yeah.
Right, with the accessibility that people have. So I think it just has to be, again, this common understanding, this common commitment. And we all have to pull ourselves away from that thing that you know when
Right.
it's not right. And you have to stay committed not only to your spouse, to God, but also to yourself. Like if you have the commitment to yourself that you are going to do your very best always and forever, then you have to honor that.
Okay. Greg, what advice do you have?
I would say at a real base level, everybody knows uh, what is right and what is wrong. And for those who are tempted by a different bite of fruit or a different bite of the apple, just know that the problem is not, when that's the case, the problem is not her, the problem is you. You have to fix yourself so that you can then be satisfied with one woman. Because if not, you're always going to be on a hamster wheel. For lack of a better phrase, there's always going to be a 25-year-old in spandex, right? So if you're drawn by what you see and things that are not of substance, you're always going to be on that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whatever that burning desire is in you to always go out and look for something, I don't know, younger, whatever, faster, then you're always going to be on that vicious cycle. So start with self, fix self, and find out why you feel that way. And there are a multitude of ways to do that. And then you'll be happy with one woman. And even then, though, it's going to require work. It's not
Or
like
one man, because we don't want to be one-sided on this thing.
That's
'cause there
right.
are women
Or
who, yeah.
or one man. As a man, I can recall, and I'm still kind of, I don't know if scarred is the word, but plenty times in my youth, it was always that dude that got the woman, not me. I consider myself the man of substance. So why did he get the woman? I know this is kind of personal now. I'm just saying.
I'm like, here comes another podcast, Gail.
Right.
All right, I'll leave it right there then.
But you know what, Greg, though, I'm teasing you, but I think the other thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I think is also think about all the people that are impacted by an individual's choices or decisions, whether it's children, parents, family members. I mean, Gail, if that were to, a lot of people say if that were to make the front page of the newspaper, would you be proud of it?
Right.
Would you be proud of it? If the answer to the question is no, then don't do it, because what goes on in dark will be seen in the light at some point in time. It's always like criminals. If you get caught before you go steal that thing or do that thing, think about the consequences of your action, if nothing else, and at least allow that to potentially shift your actions before you get there.
Okay, great. Well, as we close this episode of the G Squad Chronicles, I want to thank our guests tonight, Ms. Dion Wallace Oakley and Greg Anderson, for being on our show today. You'll get to see a lot more of them as we record more episodes, but please remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel so that you'll be notified when we upload our new content. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode of the G Squad Chronicles. Bye, G Squad. Okay.
It's Greg.
I'm just trying to get to the.
It's Greg frozen again. His fist is still